The roar of the crowd in his headset was a familiar symphony, the staccato clicks of his keyboard a frantic drumbeat. Leo was in the zone, his voice a barked command into the microphone. A split second later, the universe decided to drop a bomb. The door to his dorm room didn't open. It exploded inward, slamming against the wall with a crack that made the entire desk shudder. Pizza boxes and empty cans of Monster Energy rattled a protest. Leo's first thought was a fight. He twisted in his gaming chair, ready for an altercation, but the sight at the doorway froze him. It was Julian Blackwood. Julian, the prodigy from the computer science department, the campus royalty everyone at Northwood University spoke of in hushed, reverent tones. His face was unervingly pale, his gaze sharp and cold, pinning Leo in place. Across the room, Leo's two roommates, who had been stealthily poaching his delivery pizza, dropped their slices in shock. A pepperoni slid in slow motion to the floor. Through his headset, his teammate's voice was a desperate scream, asking what the hell was wrong, why he was standing still in the middle of a firefight. Leo's mind struggled to connect the dots. Julian Blackwood, a figure more likely to be seen in a library's quietest corner than in the chaotic mess of an sports jock's dorm, was standing in his doorway. Before Leo could formulate a single coherent word, Julian closed the distance between them in 3 long strides. He slapped a folded piece of paper onto Leo's keyboard with a sharp smack. Julian announced that he was pregnant, and it was Leo's. The words hung in the air, thick and impossible. Leo's gaze drifted from Julian's bloodless face, down to his perfectly flat stomach, and then back to the paper. It was a lab report, the words maternity clinic and pregnancy test. Positive swimming before his eyes. The gaming mouse slipped from his numb fingers and clattered to the floor. He stammered out a question, a plea for reality to reassert itself. He pointed out the obvious, that Julian was a man. Men couldn't get pregnant. A bitter, humorless smile touched Julian's lips. He lunged forward, his hand grabbing the collar of Leo's hoodie, the force nearly lifting him out of his chair. Julian's voice was low and accusatory, asking if it was Leo's habit to forget everything the moment his pants were on. The microphone, still live, faithfully transmitted every single word. The frantic shouting from his teammates died instantly. A profound, echoing silence lasted for 3 heartbeats before erupting into a cacophony of shrieks through his headphones. They screamed his name, then Julian's, their voices a mixture of disbelief and frantic excitement, demanding to know when Leo had managed to get involved with the untouchable Julian Blackwood. The world seemed to fall away. Then one of his teammates' voices cut through the noise, laced with a new kind of panic. He stammered that the stream, their whole match, was being live-streamed. A chill, colder than any winter night, shot up Leo's spine. He had been live this entire time. Julian, who had clearly heard the commotion from the headset, saw the realization dawn on Leo's face. His own expression hardened into a mask of fury. He ordered Leo to shut it down. With fumbling, clumsy hands, Leo mashed at his keyboard, force-quitting the game, the streaming software, anything with a glowing icon, until the room was finally, blessedly silent. His roommates were frozen, their faces a perfect portrait of terror, as if they had just witnessed a state secret and were contemplating their chances of survival. Leo found his voice, insisting it had to be a joke, and a terrible one at that. Julian took a deep, shuddering breath, visibly forcing himself to calm down. He released Leo's hoodie, and Leo collapsed back into his chair. Julian turned away, a faint touch of color staining the tips of his ears. He muttered something Leo couldn't quite hear. When Leo asked him to repeat it, Julian spun back around, his voice rising with frustration. though his eyes darted away, unable to meet Leo's. He explained it was a dare, a punishment for losing a game. He brandished the lab report again, the movement sharp and angry. Only then did Leo notice the cheapness of the paper, the slightly blurred, crooked font. It looked less like a medical document and more like something printed from a prank website. So it was fake. A prop. The entire dramatic entrance had been an act. Julian's face shifted through shades of red and white before he managed a clipped, humiliated sound of affirmation. Leo, still reeling, questioned the sheer theatricality of it all. The door-kicking entrance and the ice-cold despair. Julian retorted that he was just a good actor, and how was he supposed to know Leo was live-streaming to the entire world? One of his roommates finally came back to life, gasping for air. He said they thought Leo had genuinely committed some heinous crime. The other collapsed into a nearby chair, mumbling about how intense college dares had become. The truth settled in. There was no baby, no medical miracle, just an absurdly elaborate prank that had been broadcast to thousands. Leo didn't know whether to cry from relief or laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of it all. The image of Julian Blackwood, Northwood's resident Ice King, being forced to act out a soap opera pregnancy scare was too much. A snort of laughter escaped him. It started as a low chuckle, but the more he pictured it, the funnier it became, until he was slamming his hand on the desk, howling with laughter, tears streaming down his face. Julian's face darkened. He commanded Leo to stop laughing, but Leo couldn't. He choked out apologies between gasps, telling Julian his performance had been utterly convincing. The thought of his livestream audience's reaction only made him laugh harder. Then the laughter died in his throat. The livestream, Julian's expression froze, mirroring his own. They both remembered it at the same time. Their entire, insane conversation was now public record. The entire internet probably thought Julian Blackwood was carrying his child. Leo scrambled for his phone, yelling for Julian to check Twitter, to check the campus gossip forums. Julian, equally frantic, fumbled with his own phone. The moment his screen lit up, his face went pale. He didn't have to look far. Push notifications had flooded his screen. Sensational headlines from campus blogs and gaming news sites screamed from his lock screen. He opened the campus forum, a site he normally had muted, and found the entire front page dominated by their names. The comments were multiplying by the second, a frantic mix of shock, confusion, and demands for the recording. Julian's knuckles were white as he gripped his phone. Leo's own phone began to buzz incessantly, a symphony of calls and texts from everyone he had ever known. His roommates peered at his screen and sucked in a collective breath. One of them patted his shoulder with grim sympathy, remarking that this was a new level of social suicide. Leo and Julian stared at each other, a shared, bottomless despair in their eyes. The misunderstanding had spiraled into a catastrophe. Julian, his voice cold with a resigned fury, stated that they had to issue a clarification. Now, a minute later, they were sitting side by side in front of Leo's gaming setup. He logged back into the streaming platform, his heart pounding. With a trembling hand, he clicked Start Livestream. The platform nearly crashed. Viewers poured in by the thousands, the chat feed a solid, unreadable waterfall of text. People were demanding to see the baby bump. They called Leo a monster. They screamed about a medical marvel. Leo, his scalp prickling, cleared his throat and leaned into the microphone. He pleaded for calm, explaining that the whole thing was a misunderstanding, a joke. Julian, his face a stony mask, added two clipped words, a dare. The chat paused for a fraction of a second before exploding with even more fervor. No one believed them, They demanded to see the lab report again. Julian, looking deeply reluctant, produced the crumpled paper and flashed it at the camera for a split second. But it was long enough. Screenshots were taken. Someone pointed out the hospital name was misspelled. Another noticed a typo in the medical terminology. The tide of belief began to shift, but the skepticism remained. People argued he could have prepared a fake prop. They demanded he swear an oath. If he was lying, one popular comment suggested he should be cursed to be topped by Leo for the rest of his life. Leo saw Julian's eye twitch at that comment. Taking a deep breath, Julian swore that if he had said a single word of untruth, he would fail every single one of his classes for the semester. For a student like Julian, this was the ultimate sacrifice. The chat seemed to consider this. It held weight. Feeling the momentum, Leo jumped in, swearing that if it wasn't a dare, he would lose his next 100 ranked matches. The chat found this less compelling and more hilarious. Just as the tide seemed to be turning, a verified account, a well-known esports gossip blogger, posted a highlighted comment. The question was sharp and insightful. If it was a dare, who proposed such a creative punishment? And who exactly was he playing with? The blogger pointed out that one doesn't typically play truth or dare alone. The chat's curiosity was reignited. Julian's composure finally cracked for a moment, a flicker of panic in his eyes. Leo, sensing disaster, grabbed the mic and tried to laugh it off, asking everyone to give Julian a break. He said the point of a dare was to be embarrassing, and he was the unlucky target. His attempt at deflection failed spectacularly. Julian looked at him, his expression unreadable, then took a breath. He explained it was a club social, and the punishment was to randomly find an esports captain from the rival university and act out the scene. To deflect further, he coolly added that the club's activities director had suggested it, giving a fake student ID number. It was a masterful, clean redirection of blame. When the chat started asking why it was specifically Leo, he and Leo both loudly insisted it was completely random, just a case of bad luck. Finally, Julian declared the misunderstanding clarified and, ignoring the chat's wails of protest, reached over and ended the stream. Silence descended once more. They both let out long, exhausted breaths. Leo tentatively suggested that Julian should probably go home and rest. Julian didn't move. His gaze fell on the broken mouse on the floor. He bent down, picked it up, inspected it, and then held it out to Leo. It was broken. He stated that he would pay for it. Leo, flustered, tried to refuse, but Julian was insistent. Leo found himself rattling off the model number. A moment later, a Venmo notification appeared on his phone for an amount far exceeding the cost of the mouse. Julian explained it was for the emotional distress and the trouble with the live stream. It was an apology. Leo, shocked to hear the campus prodigy apologize, stammered that it was fine, that he'd even gained a lot of followers from the chaos. As Julian turned to leave, Leo called out to him. He held up his phone with a hopeful grin, suggesting that given their shared traumatic experience, they should at least exchange numbers. Just in case, he added cheekily, Julian needed a partner for another dare. Julian's eyes narrowed, but Leo quickly added that he could also use help with his C++ class. After a long moment of scrutiny, Julian pulled out his phone and showed him a QR code. Leo quickly scanned it, sending a friend request. The username was a simple, stark J. The profile picture was a blank white square. After Julian left, one of his roommates spoke into the quiet room, voicing the thought that was also forming in Leo's mind. The whole thing didn't feel quite as simple as a random dare. The thought was interrupted by his phone ringing. The caller ID was Mom. A fresh wave of dread washed over him. he answered, and his mother's tearful, furious voice erupted from the speaker, demanding to know when he had gotten that nice young Mr. Blackwood pregnant. She informed him that his father was already at the grocery store buying ingredients for a celebratory dinner. She wailed about how she always knew he looked at Julian differently, and that he needed to bring him home immediately. Leo tried desperately to explain, shouting that it was a prank, that Julian was a man. His mother was having none of it. She'd seen the screenshots. The whole extended family was calling. The logic of basic biology was no match for her conviction, fueled by online rumors and a sudden desire for a grandchild, no matter how impossible. She screamed at him to bring Julian home, or she would disown him, and then hung up. He stared at his phone in despair. Just then, a new notification popped up. It was from Jay. It was a link to a post on the campus forum titled, "An in-depth analysis. The potential truth behind the Julian Blackwood pregnancy hoax." The post theorized that the dare was a cover story, that Julian had intended to force Leo's hand about a secret relationship, but the live stream had forced them to backpedal. A second message from Jay appeared. "Your home address?" Leo's hands shook as he typed back, asking why. Julian's reply was cold and logical. He had overheard Leo's mother on the phone through the thin dorm room door and offered to come over to clarify the situation in person. Unless Leo wanted the news of his expectant state to spread through his entire family tree. Defeated, Leo sent his address. The reply was immediate. Campus gate. 1 hour. Don't be late. An hour later, Leo saw Julian waiting. He had changed into a simple white shirt and dark slacks, looking effortlessly elegant. In his hand, he held a tastefully wrapped gift basket from a gourmet food store, which slightly undermined his icy aura. The ride to Leo's suburban home was silent and tense. As they pulled up, Leo saw his father on the front lawn, wearing an apron and holding a spatula. Upon seeing them, his father's face lit up, and he yelled into the house that they had arrived. He greeted Julian with the warmth usually reserved for visiting royalty, taking the gift basket and ushering him inside. Leo's mother rushed out of the kitchen, her eyes red, and immediately began fussing over Julian, pressing a plate of cookies into his hands and completely ignoring her own son. Leo tried to interject, to explain again that it was all a misunderstanding. His father gently tapped him with the spatula and told him to be quiet. Julian, ever composed, bowed his head slightly and offered a formal apology to Leo's parents for the trouble the prank had caused. Instantly, his parents' attitudes shifted. They insisted it was no trouble at all, that young people should have fun. They sat Julian down and, with twinkling eyes, asked him the one question Leo had been dreading. Why, for the dare, had he chosen their Leo? Julian, without missing a beat, repeated the story about it being a random selection. His parents' feigned acceptance was paper-thin. The rest of the visit was surreal. They treated Julian like a cherished future son-in-law, lavishing him with food and praise, while shooting Leo looks of deep disappointment. It felt less like a clarification and more like a first meeting with the in-laws. When Julian finally managed to excuse himself, citing evening classes, Leo practically leaped at the chance to walk him out. As they stood by the curb waiting for Julian's Uber, Leo thanked him, apologizing for his parents' over-the-top enthusiasm. Julian merely said that his parents seemed like nice people. As the car pulled up, Julian paused before getting in. He looked at Leo and apologized again for the trouble he had caused. Leo quickly brushed it off, saying it was all over now. Julian nodded, got in the car, and was gone. Leo walked back home, feeling a profound sense of relief. The saga was over. But when he walked in the door, his parents were waiting for him on the sofa, their expressions serious. His mother asked him point-blank if he liked Julian. Leo's denials were immediate and frantic, but his parents were armed with evidence. His father recalled a drunken night when Leo had mumbled about how amazing Julian the god was, and his mother revealed she had found a hidden, encrypted folder on his computer filled with candid pictures of Julian all over campus. Cornered and mortified, Leo could only stammer. His parents exchanged triumphant, knowing glances. They told him they weren't old-fashioned, that they understood and supported him. They thought Julian was a wonderful boy, a perfect match. The dare was, in their minds, just a quirky, roundabout way for the two of them to get together. Just then, his team manager called. Seizing the opportunity, Leo feigned a training emergency and fled the house, his parents calling after him to bring Julian over for dinner again soon. Back at the team house, his teammates swarmed him with questions, but Leo was distracted by a message from Julian asking if he had arrived safely. He then asked how Leo's parents were. Leo, mortified, typed back that it was better not to ask. He decided to change the subject, offering to pay Julian back for the gift basket. Julian's reply was a simple no need. Feeling the conversation dying, Leo was about to put his phone away when another message came through. You play a good game. Leo stared at the message. Julian had watched his streams. He complimented his skill. A thrill went through him. He typed back, a bit cocky, asking if good was the best he could do. Julian responded with a detailed critique of his last match, pointing out a micro-delay in his execution after a peak speed combo. Leo was humbled and impressed. He jokingly invited Julian to critique his future streams. The reply was 2 words that would occupy his thoughts for days. We'll see. Life fell into a new rhythm. The online rumors faded into a running joke. His parents continued their campaign to set him up with that nice Julian boy. And Leo began a campaign of his own. He texted Julian every day. Good mornings, funny memes, links to gameplay videos. Julian's replies remained concise, but they were consistent, and they came faster and faster. Soon, texts turned into invitations. To movies, to watch team practices, to try a new dessert shop. To Leo's surprise, Julian accepted every single one. Their time together chipped away at Julian's reserved exterior, revealing a quiet, observant, and surprisingly shy person underneath. The week before the regional playoffs, training intensified. Leo was at the team house from dawn until midnight. His texts to Julian became sparse and rushed. He noticed Julian's replies growing colder, more monosyllabic. He realized he'd been neglectful. The night before the first playoff match, he called him, apologizing. Julian's voice was cool, but he insisted it was fine, telling Leo to focus on his game. He said he was busy and would watch the live stream. The next day, the arena was electric. As Leo sat down, he scanned the massive crowd out of habit, a pang of disappointment in his chest. But then, in a moment of quiet before the match, he looked up and saw him. Tucked away in a corner of the VIP section sat Julian, watching the stage with quiet intensity. He had come after all. Their eyes met across the teeming arena. Julian offered him a small, almost imperceptible nod and mouthed the words, "Good luck." A fire ignited in Leo's chest. He played the game of his life, his focus absolute, his movements fluid and deadly. He was unstoppable. When the victory screen flashed, the arena erupted. Leo tore off his headset, high-fived his ecstatic teammates, and then, in a move that stunned the commentators and the crowd, he vaulted off the stage and ran. He pushed through the bewildered crowd, his eyes locked on Julian, who watched his approach with wide-eyed surprise. Leo stopped in front of him, panting, sweat dripping from his brow, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Julian," he gasped. Julian just looked at him, a soft, questioning look in his eyes. "You came. You played well," Julian replied, a small smile gracing his lips. All the pent-up emotion, the weeks of texting, the shared meals, the crushing, the victory, it all crested in that one moment. Leo took a deep breath. "I won the match," he said, his voice loud and clear enough for those nearby to hear. "So, can I claim my prize?" Julian looked confused. "What prize?" Leo stepped closer, closing the small space between them. "The prize," he said, his voice dropping but losing none of its intensity, "is that I get to kiss you. Right now. Can I?" A hush fell over their immediate vicinity. Julian's eyes widened, a deep blush flooding his face from his neck to the tips of his ears. He looked utterly stunned, caught off guard by the sheer audacity of the request. For a moment he seemed poised to flee, but Leo held his gaze, his own hope and terror laid bare. After a silence that stretched for an eternity, under the curious stares of a dozen strangers, Julian's long lashes fluttered. Then, very slowly, he closed his eyes. The silent permission sent a jolt of pure joy through Leo. He reached up, cupped Julian's face in his hands, and leaned in, pressing his lips to Julian's. The small bubble of silence around them burst. The crowd erupted in a roar of cheers, whistles, and applause that was 10 times louder than the victory celebration. Camera flashes went off like strobe lights, but Leo was deaf and blind to it all. His entire world had narrowed to the soft pressure of Julian's lips and the clean, subtle scent of his skin. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against Julian's, their breathing ragged. Julian's eyes were still closed, his face a beautiful shade of crimson. Leo grinned, his voice a low whisper meant only for him. Stamped and approved. "From now on, you're mine." Julian's eyes fluttered open. He shot Leo a look that was meant to be a glare but held no heat, only a deep, shimmering shyness. He said nothing, simply burying his burning face in the crook of Leo's neck as the world celebrated around them. Later, walking hand in hand through a quiet park near the stadium, Leo asked the question that had been burning in his mind for weeks. He wanted to know when it had really started for Julian. Julian glanced at him, the corner of his mouth ticking upward in a rare, small smile. He confessed that it had started a little bit before Leo had started saving pictures of him. Leo stopped dead in his tracks, utterly floored. "How did you know about the pictures?" Julian's smile widened, a hint of playful mischief in his eyes. "You forget," he said softly. "I gave a guest lecture for your department last year. You were in the front row. Your phone screen lit up. It was a nice picture." Leo stared at him, his mind reeling back, a horrified memory surfacing. It all clicked into place. His social death hadn't started with a dare. It had been preordained. Julian saw the look of dawning horror on his face, and his smile broke into a quiet laugh. He squeezed Leo's hand, pulling him forward. "Come on, boyfriend.